Mr. Chairman, and thank you, Mr. Speaker. Today I'm here to talk about a bill that should be a fully bipartisan bill supported by all members of this body. It gives our probation officers the tools they need to defend themselves, but also at the same time protect the people who are on probation that the probation officers are trying to help and protect and keep on track and get them back on a path to productive citizenship in this country. And sometimes they're impeded from doing their job, not just verbally. Now, I was a cop for 33 years, and I was verbally abused, thousands of times. Lost track. Those bounce off the badge. That's what probation officers do. Verbal abuse is verbal abuse, and you deal with it, and you handle it, and you go about your day. But when somebody puts their hands on you, or they spit on you, that's physical. That's assault. And probation officers should be able to protect themselves and take actions in those instances when they're assaulted. You don't need an arrest warrant. You don't need a search warrant to arrest someone who has just assaulted an officer. This is common sense. So to say you need a search warrant or an arrest warrant to arrest someone who's assaulted you is the wrong way to look at this law. The person who's being supervised and who lives in a residence, and the probation officer has the authority to go to that residence and has the authority, by the way, Mr. Speaker, to walk into that residence. They have the authority to force them their way into that residence if it's known to be owned by the person who's on probation. And if they're obstructed in doing that, it's a violation of the law. And then furthermore, if they're assaulted, it's another violation. But in the past, what's happened is that the probation officers had to step away, walk away, and say, oh, well, the guy just spit in my face. He punched me in the face. He pushed me. He obstructed me. I guess I'll go back to my car and get on the radio, and 30 minutes from now, when police officers can finally show up, because we're shorthanded across this nation as far as police officers go. I mean, we have hundreds and hundreds of vacancies, thousands of vacancies across this nation in every police department, every sheriff's office. And so we're going to just step away, we're going to call for backup, and we're going to wait for a half an hour and see what happens. I think that this not only puts the probation officer at risk, but it also puts the person who's on probation at risk. What's happening in that house that doesn't want us to come in and see? I've worked with, as you might guess, probation officers from local level, federal level, all across the spectrum. They are well trained. They have an academy that they go through. They raise their right hand and swear to uphold the Constitution, all the laws of this country. They are trained then every year. They have minimal amount of training, 40 hours. That's the minimum. They have additional training on top of that on specific issues on how to handle situations where it escalates to, a physical event. They know how to de-escalate verbal events. These are professional people who are doing a job that, a lot of people don't want. And already states across this country have recognized that their state probation officers need this sort of authority. In some states, for example, they've given them full police authority. Full police authority. In this case, it's very, very limited. It's limited to the obstruction. It's limited to the physical obstruction of the probation officer doing their job that we have asked them to do on behalf of all of us in this country. The least we can do as we wrap up Police Memorial Week is to say we support. Mr. Speaker, there are members in this body who have found a way, decided that there is a way that I can vote no on this. Instead of standing up and say there are members here that have had police officers added to the memorial wall this past week. In some cases, 5 people from one state. And those members have decided to find a way to not support law enforcement. And they're going to vote no. We can yak all we want about supporting cops, But if we don't show it with this vote, it's all talk. When I was a cop, you had to walk the talk. And today, members of this body, if you support law enforcement, you better walk the talk. I yield back.